Introduction: A Ghost in the Silence. The world ended on a Tuesday. It wasn't fire or famine, nor the much-anticipated collapse of Earth's ecosystems. There were no grand displays of nature reclaiming itself, no apocalyptic wars fought under blood-red skies. Instead, the end of Earth came quietly, a stillness so profound it suffocated the soul. The last message transmitted from Earth was simple. To any who hear us, they've come. They are not what we imagined. We cannot fight them. God forgive us, we tried. If you're out there, run. The static that followed wasn't just the death knell of humanity. It was the silence of an entire biosphere wiped clean. Captain Arlen Vega stood on the bridge of the stalwart Horizon, a battle-worn frigate drifting in the asteroid belt of the Centauri system. The message from Earth played on a loop in her mind, even after 5 years. She couldn't forget it. No one could. 5 years, Arlen muttered, her voice scraping like sandpaper against her throat. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Kara Solon, glanced up from her console. They'll still be out there, Kara said softly, as if speaking too loudly might summon the nightmare. Arlen nodded, her jaw tightening. She'd heard the stories. The whispers passed through refugee ships and drifting colonies. The ones whose silenced Earth hadn't stopped there. The Haven Massacre, the Adruvi extinction, the endless pursuit of sentient life, like it was a cosmic game of predator and prey. No one had seen them clearly. No one had survived long enough to describe them. They were a shadow at the edge of existence, hunting across the stars. Some called them the Reapers, others the Nameless. Arlen preferred no name at all. Naming them felt too much like inviting them in. Captain, Kara interrupted her thoughts. Incoming distress signal. Deep band barely cutting through. Location? Kara's brow furrowed. Outer rim. System Epsilon 9. Arlen's heart clenched. That sector was barren, long abandoned after Earth's fall. But the signal was unmistakable. Human. Put it through, Arlen commanded. A burst of static filled the bridge, followed by a panicked voice. They found us. Epsilon 9. There. The transmission cut out, replaced by a sound that made Arlen's skin crawl, a low, guttural hum, almost like a purr, layered with clicks and hisses. They're hunting again, Kara whispered, her face pale. Arlen's hand tightened around the armrest of her chair. 5 years of running. 5 years of watching every decision lead them closer to the edge of annihilation. But this time, the decision wasn't just about survival. It was about the truth. Set a course for Epsilon 9, Arlen ordered. Kara hesitated. Captain, if we don't stop running, we'll never stop dying, Arlen said, her voice hard as steel. As the stalwart Horizon surged into the black, the crew couldn't shake the weight pressing down on them. The silence that had swallowed Earth had returned, and whatever had caused it was still out there, still moving, still running. But Arlen Vega was determined to meet it head-on, and maybe, just maybe, she could find out why. Chapter 1. Echoes in the Void. The stalwart Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a gut-wrenching lurch. The dim star at the heart of Epsilon 9 cast the system in a pallid orange light, its faint glow barely piercing the blackness. The planet below, a barren, crater-pocked world, offered no signs of life. Scanning the system, Lieutenant Kara Solon said, her voice tight with tension. She worked quickly, her fingers dancing over the console. No heat signatures on the planet's surface. No obvious signs of recent activity. Expand the sweep, Arlen said. Check for anomalies. The signal didn't come from nowhere. As Kara worked, the bridge fell silent except for the hum of the ship's systems. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The emptiness of Epsilon 9 felt wrong, like a vast, waiting void. Got something? Kara finally said. Anomalous energy signature. Weak, but it's there. Location? Low orbit around the planet. It's small, possibly a derelict vessel. Arlen leaned forward in her chair, her eyes narrowing. Set a course. Bring us in slow. The ship came into visual range of the Anomaly after 20 tense minutes. The derelict floated in the void, a battered and twisted shell of a vessel. Its hull was blackened as if scorched by intense heat, and strange markings were etched into the metal, sharp, geometric lines that seemed to ripple faintly, even in the vacuum of space. That's not human, said Ensign Mateo Tran, his voice low. No, Arlen replied grimly, but it's where the signal came from. A bead of sweat rolled down Kara's temple. This doesn't feel right, Captain. If the Reapers... Enough, Arlen said, her tone clipped but not unkind. We've run for 5 years. We need answers. Boarding the unknown. The boarding party consisted of Arlen, Kara, and 2 heavily armed Marines, Santos and Theyre. They entered the derelict through a jagged tear in its hull. The interior was a maze of twisted corridors, the walls marked with more of the strange, shifting patterns. Keep your comms open, Arlen ordered, her voice barely above a whisper. Stay sharp. The team moved cautiously, the beams of their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The air was heavy with a faint, acrid scent, even through their rebreathers. Captain, Kara said, her voice shaky. These patterns, they're moving. Arlen stopped and focused her light on the nearest wall. Kara was right. The geometric lines weren't just etched into the metal. They were shifting, flowing like liquid trapped beneath a glass surface. What the hell is this? Santos muttered, gripping his rifle tighter. Before Arlen could respond, a faint noise echoed through the derelict, a soft, rhythmic clicking, like claws tapping on metal. Movement, Theyre hissed, her rifle snapping up. The clicking grew louder, coming from the darkness ahead. Arlen signaled for the team to hold position, her pulse hammering in her ears. From the shadows emerged a figure, a human woman, emaciated and trembling, her face streaked with grime. Her wide, bloodshot eyes darted between them, and her cracked lips moved soundlessly, as if trying to speak. "Ma'am," Santos said cautiously, "are you—" "Run!" The woman screamed suddenly, her voice raw and desperate. Before anyone could react, the clicking sound exploded into a deafening cacophony. From every corridor, shadows burst forth, creatures that defied description. They moved in jerking, unnatural motions, their bodies a shifting mass of dark geometry that mirrored the patterns on the walls. Fire! Arlen roared. The chaos of survival. The corridor erupted in chaos as the Marines unleashed a torrent of gunfire. The creatures recoiled under the assault, their forms twisting and writhing as bullets ripped through them. But they didn't fall. Instead, they shifted, their bodies folding in on themselves like origami before reforming, each time closer to the team. "We can't kill them," Theyre shouted, her voice laced with panic. "Fall back," Arlen ordered, firing her sidearm into the nearest creature. The woman who had warned them was already gone, lost in the confusion. The team retreated, the creatures in relentless pursuit. As they reached a breach in the hull, Kara screamed, "Behind us!" One of the creatures surged forward, its geometry unfurling like a jagged, living wave. Arlen shoved Kara through the gap and turned to fire again, emptying her clip into the monstrosity. It hesitated, just long enough for her to escape. Back on the stalwart horizon, the ship's weapons lit up the void, bombarding the derelict with plasma rounds. The structure shuddered and collapsed, the creatures vanishing in the fiery explosion. The woman's warning. In the medbay, Kara sat on the edge of a cot, her hands trembling. "Captain, what the hell were those things?" Arlen leaned against the wall, her expression grim. "Something worse than anything we've ever faced." "Captain," Mateo's voice crackled over the comms, "you need to see this. We recovered something from the derelict's black box." Arlen and Kara hurried to the bridge, where Mateo played the distorted recording. The voice was faint but clear enough to send chills down their spines. "They're not hunting us. They're running from something worse." Silence fell over the bridge as the implications settled like a lead weight. What could possibly be worse than them? Kara whispered. Arlen stared out at the void, her jaw tight. Whatever it was still out there, and it was coming. Chapter 2. Shadows of Truth. The stalwart horizon limped away from Epsilon 9, its crew shaken to the core. Captain Arlen Vega stood on the bridge, staring at the swirling void on the main view screen. The recovered recording repeated in her mind like a curse. "They're not hunting us. They're running from something worse." "Captain," Kara Solon said, breaking the silence. Her voice was subdued, still trembling from the encounter. "What's our heading?" Arlen didn't answer immediately. The usual certainty in her eyes was clouded with doubt. "Set course for the nearest relay station. We need to warn the colonies." "Yes, ma'am," Kara replied, though her tone was hesitant. The thought was unspoken but shared by everyone on the bridge. What could they possibly warn them about when they didn't even understand what they'd seen? A new puzzle. 3 days passed in tense silence. The ship's engines droned as they crawled toward the relay station on the outskirts of the system. Arlen spent most of her time poring over the derelict's black box data, trying to make sense of the fragmented recordings. "Anything yet?" Kara asked, entering the captain's quarters. Arlen looked up, the shadows under her eyes betraying sleepless nights. "Plenty of nothing. Glimpses of the creatures we encountered, but no context. They're always running. Every log shows them fleeing from something. But what?" "That's the question," Arlen muttered, rubbing her temples. "They've silenced entire systems, wiped out every trace of life, and yet they're afraid. Whatever's chasing them is something we can't even begin to comprehend." A chime interrupted their conversation. Mateo's voice crackled over the comms. "Captain, you'd better come to the bridge. We've got an anomaly, an unexpected encounter." The anomaly appeared ahead of the stalwart horizon, like a tear in the fabric of space. A vast rift, pulsating with sickly green light, stretched across the void. Energy readings spiked erratically, causing every sensor on the ship to scream warnings. "What the hell is that?" Kara breathed as she and Arlen arrived on the bridge. Mateo shook his head, his face pale. "It just appeared. No signatures, no warning. It's like the space around it just gave up." "Is it natural?" Arlen asked. "Doubtful," Mateo replied. "The energy readings are artificial, but they're wrong. They're decaying, like the rift itself is unstable." Before anyone could respond, a sharp burst of static filled the bridge, followed by a garbled transmission. "Stalwart horizon. Do not approach. Repeat, do not." The voice was human, but before it could finish, the rift pulsed violently. "Detecting a ship," Mateo said, his hands flying over the console. It's coming through the rift. The vessel that emerged was unlike anything they'd seen. Its sleek, elongated design bore no markings, and its surface shimmered as though it existed in 2 dimensions at once. It was battered and scorched, clearly damaged. "Scan it," Arlen ordered. "Life signs detected," Mateo reported. "Human, human," Kara exclaimed. "How is that possible?" "Let's find out," Arlen said. "Prepare to dock. Kara, you're with me. Santos, Vera. Full security detail. Boarding the Rift vessel." The team entered the alien ship cautiously, their flashlights cutting through the dim interior. The walls were smooth and seamless, the material cold to the touch and unlike any alloy they'd encountered. Strange, organic-looking machinery pulsated faintly with green light. "Life signs ahead," Mateo relayed through the comms. They found the source in what appeared to be a command center. Slumped over a console was a man in a torn, blood-stained uniform. His face was gaunt, his breathing shallow. "Get him up," Arlen ordered. As Kara moved to assist, the man's eyes snapped open. He grabbed her wrist with surprising strength, his gaze wild and unfocused. "They're coming," he rasped. "You have to run. No, hide." "Calm down," Arlen said firmly, kneeling beside him. "Who are you? How did you get here?" The man coughed, his voice cracking. "Commander Elias Marek, YNSC Vanguard. We went through the rift. Thought we'd escaped." His words faltered, and his eyes darted around the room. "They followed us." "Who?" Arlen pressed. "The Reapers." Marek's laughter was hollow, tinged with despair. "The Reapers? They're nothing. Pawns in a greater hunt. The true hunters. They're coming for all of us." The team exchanged uneasy glances. "What are they?" Arlen asked. Marek's face twisted with fear. "You don't understand. They don't just destroy, they erase. Everything. Memories. Histories. They take existence itself. The Reapers are running because they've seen the end, and they know there's no fighting it. The rift's warning." The ship trembled suddenly, the alien walls emitting a low, mournful hum. "Captain," Mateo's voice crackled through the comms. "The rift, it's destabilizing. We need to move." Arlen grabbed Marek's arm. "Can your ship still fly?" He shook his head. "It's dying, just like me." "Then you're coming with us." "No," Marek shouted, pulling free. "You have to destroy this ship. If they trace it, they'll find you. They'll find everyone." The tremors grew stronger, and the green light within the walls began to pulse erratically. "Kara, Santos, get back to the horizon," Arlen ordered. "Prep the weapon systems." "What about you?" Kara asked. "I'll handle this." Arlen turned back to Marek. "We're not leaving you behind." Marek stared at her, his eyes filled with sorrow. "You don't get it. You can't save me. But you might still save yourselves. Escape and destruction." As the team fled back to the stalwart horizon, Marek stayed behind. The last thing Arlen saw before the airlock sealed was the rift vessel's interior collapsing, the green light consuming everything. "Fire!" Arlen commanded as soon as they were aboard. The horizon's plasma cannons unleashed a barrage of fire, striking the alien ship and the rift in tandem. The explosion rippled outward, collapsing the rift in a burst of energy that momentarily blinded the sensors. When the light faded, the rift was gone. A grim realization. On the bridge, silence reigned. "What now?" Kara asked softly. Arlen looked out at the void, her expression resolute. We warn the colonies. We prepare. For what? Arlen's voice was grim. For the end of running. For the fight of our existence. And deep in the void, something stirred, a shadow, vast and unfathomable, growing ever closer. Finale, the silent horizon. The stalwart horizon moved through the stars like a phantom, its hull painted in the dim reflections of distant light. The silence that followed the destruction of the Rift vessel was palpable, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Captain Arlen Vega stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the void ahead. The crew's quiet murmur behind her was a testament to their growing unease. Everyone knew something was coming. The only question was when. The message. Captain. Mateo's voice broke the stillness, trembling with urgency. We've intercepted a transmission. Arlen turned sharply. Source? Mateo hesitated, his face pale. It's not local. It's everywhere. Put it on, she ordered. The sound filled the bridge, a low, droning hum that sent shivers down the spine. Beneath it, faint whispers seemed to form words, though they were in no recognizable language. Slowly, the whispers began to coalesce, becoming clear enough to send a chill through every soul on the ship. They are coming. They are hunger. They are silence. Prepare to be forgotten. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving only the hum of the ship systems. Arlen's hands clenched into fists. Send that recording to every colony within range. They need to know. And then what? Kara asked, her voice tinged with fear. We fight, Arlen said. Preparation for the storm. The relay station was a modest outpost floating near the edge of a vast nebula. When the stalwart horizon docked, Arlen wasted no time. She sent the recordings, both the black box data and the intercepted transmission, to every human settlement and allied species she could reach. Inside the station's command center, Arlen addressed a holographic council of colonial leaders. Their faces displayed various levels of disbelief and fear. This is madness, one of them said. You're suggesting an enemy more dangerous than the Reapers? I'm not suggesting, Arlen shot back. I'm telling you, the Reapers aren't predators, they're prey. And we're standing between them and what they're running from. Another leader, an older man with a scar running across his face, leaned forward. Do we even know what these things are? Arlen shook her head. Not yet. But I know they're real, and I know they're coming. We need to unify. If we don't stand together, we'll fall alone, a fragile alliance. In the days that followed, Arlen's warning began to spread. Some colonies heeded the call, pooling resources and preparing defenses. Others dismissed her as a fearmonger, unwilling to risk lives and supplies on what they saw as a phantom threat. On board the stalwart horizon, tensions were high. Kara confronted Arlen in the mess hall, her voice low but heated. Do you really think we can fight this thing? We don't even know what it is. Arlen met her gaze, her expression weary but determined. I don't know if we can win, but I know we can't run forever. If we stand our ground, we might have a chance. And if we don't, Arlen's silence was answer enough. The first wave. The attack came without warning. The stalwart horizon was patrolling near a fledgling colony when the first ship appeared, an angular, shifting construct that seemed to drink in the light around it. It moved with an eerie grace, almost playful as it closed the distance. Enemy vessel inbound. Mateo shouted. No recognizable signatures. Raised shields. Arlen barked. Weapons online. The alien ship struck with a ferocity that defied reason. Energy beams lanced through the void. bending and twisting as if alive, bypassing shields and slicing into the colony's orbital defenses. "Target their weapon systems," Arlen ordered. The Horizon's plasma cannons roared, but the alien ship shifted, its form folding and unfolding in impossible ways, evading the fire effortlessly. "They're adapting," Kara shouted. "Focus fires," Arlen snapped. "Overload the targeting systems if you have to." The crew worked with desperate precision, their movements frantic but coordinated. A lucky shot finally struck the alien ship's core, causing it to convulse and shatter into fragments of light that faded into the void. The victory was short-lived. Multiple contacts. Mateo cried. Dozens of them. Closing fast. The last stand. The battle that followed was chaos incarnate. The colony's defenses crumbled under the relentless assault, and the Horizon was forced to retreat, firing blindly into the swarming darkness. Arlen stood firm, barking orders as the ship shuddered under the strain. "Keep us moving. We can't let them pin us down." "Captain, the colony," Kara began. "I know," Arlen said, her voice breaking. "We can't save them. Not this time." The alien ships showed no mercy, erasing the colony's structures and inhabitants as if they had never existed. The Horizon barely escaped, limping into the safety of the nebula. A grim revelation. In the aftermath, the crew gathered in the briefing room. Exhaustion and despair hung heavy in the air. "They didn't just destroy that colony," Kara said quietly. "They erased it. It's gone from the star charts, like it was never there." Arlen stared at the map, her hands trembling. "They don't just take lives. They take existence, history, memory. They erase us from reality itself. Then how do we fight that?" Santos asked, his voice hollow. Arlen looked around the room, her eyes meeting each crew member's gaze. "We fight by remembering, by resisting, by refusing to let them silence us." The final broadcast. Before leaving the relay station, Arlen recorded a message, one she knew might be her last. "To all who hear this, the silence that took Earth is spreading. The enemy we face is beyond comprehension, but they are not invincible. We are the last line of defense, the last voice in the dark. Remember us. Remember Earth. Fight, not just for survival, but for existence itself. Because if we lose, no one will ever know we were here." Epilogue. The silent horizon. The stalwart Horizon disappeared into the void, its engines glowing faintly as it headed toward an uncertain future. Behind them, the stars began to dim one by one as the silence spread. And somewhere, deep in the darkness, the hunters stirred. They were still running, but so was humanity, and humanity wasn't finished yet.